So you're still in the earlier stages of learning piano, and you're looking for great pieces to play that aren't too easy, but also not quite intermediate yet. Well, guess what? Your piano teacher Tim here, that's me, has you covered, because today I'm going to show you 7 pieces that are between beginner and intermediate. Let's get on to the first one. The first one is Mozart Minuet K6. The reasons that this piece is so great and so great for people in the earlier stages is that it has a simple key signature. It is easy to line up the right and the left hands. It is learnable within about a day for some people. What I mean by that is about a page long. It's not going to take you an exorbitant amount of time to learn this one. The fourth great reason is that it has very few accidentals, which are like the sharps or flats in the middle of a piece. If you have a lot of those, it does tend to make things quite a bit trickier. So this one is easy when it comes to that. The fifth great reason is that it's a good piece to practice simple phrasing. So phrasing comes into play when we are playing a melody, right? See how it sounded disjointed? Phrasing is when you connect the notes together in a way that makes sense, like kind of when you talk and you have periods and commas and things to break up the sentence structure. That's kind of what phrases do. So it's a great piece to introduce you into that. All right, let's get on to the next piece.
Next!
Piece number 2 is the Prelude in C Major of the Well-Tempered Clavier. This one is like one of the most famous, it's by Bach. One of the most famous Bach pieces of all time. It's really simple to play, and the rhythms and pitches are repeatable. You may look at it at first and be like, ooh, this looks tricky. But it's the same thing over and over again, just slightly different notes between each measure. It does make it actually a little tricky at the same time. But this one is really, really good for people that are still in the beginner stages, but looking to move into that intermediate, but not quite there yet. This one is a great choice for that, and it's short at only about 2 pages. So you can learn this one within, it depends on who you are, within a day, a few days, a couple of weeks. It's not going to take you months and months. It's not going to take you years and years. All right, on to number 3. Number 3 is the Chopin Prelude number 4. This one is probably the easiest piece by Chopin, and Chopin sounds cool. And a lot of piano players who are in those earlier stages probably are not familiar with playing any Chopin yet, and this one is a good choice for your first Chopin piece. Now keep in mind, compared to some of the other ones in this list, this one's a little bit tougher, so maybe you want to do this one last out of all the other ones. But this one still is, I would say, between that easy stage and that intermediate stage. And it's also short at about a single page. It's great, you know, when you're at that level to not learn anything too long. And it is a good challenge, like I mentioned before, but it's not impossible at the same time. Number 4 is its good introduction into rubato. And if you don't know what rubato is, it's when you are more flexible with the tempo. So things like Bach, Beethoven, everything leading up to Chopin pretty much had really strict tempo, especially Bach. And as they get further and further and further into the future, in terms of, not in the future, but towards the present and creating music, things and the rhythms do get more subjective, because it's all about conveying some sort of romantic idea. So this is a great piece to introduce you to that. It's time for the power tip, and then we're going to get on to the rest of the list that I have for you. Today's power tip is when you're sitting at the piano and you're playing up one end of the piano or the other end, it helps to pivot your body in those directions. You don't want to turn your body at all, and you don't want to pick up. Unfortunately, my bench isn't very wide. I might fall off here. But a lot of people have a wider bench. You don't want to physically pick yourself up and move to play those either. You want to stay in one spot, and you want to pivot this way or that way. And it's going to help you tons with playing up and down the piano more effectively. Let's get on to the next one.
Next.
This one's actually one of my favorites out of this list, and it's the Prelude in C Major, but not by Bach this time, by Johann Peter Kellner, in the style of Johann Sebastian Bach. So this one will sound very Bach-like. But it's not quite that, and it's a great, like I said, it's a great choice between those beginner and intermediate stages. Specifically, this one's a great choice because it's good practice into arpeggio patterns. So instead of playing like a chord all at once, you play them in arpeggios, and you're going to see arpeggios throughout your music in your entire playing career. So it's a good introduction into playing the arpeggios in a context of actually playing a song. And it's a good introduction into inverted mordents, which are those things. You would see them, it's towards the second half of the piece, those little squigglies with the lines through. Those can be kind of tricky, and this is a good practice in introducing those. And simple, and those are the types of things we call ornamentations and articulations, which basically tells you more about how to play the notes. The ornamentations actually adds a little bit, like trills, things like that. And then articulations is like telling you how to play the notes. So it has both of those, and it's a good introduction into that. All right, guess what? We got 3 more great ones on this list, but it's time for a word from our sponsor. Me, I'm going to get this done in 10 seconds. Ready? I have a website called pianolessonsontheweb.com. You can learn a lot more about piano, theory, ear training, anything you need to learn a lot about music, and it's great. Use code YouTube for 15% off pianolessonsontheweb.com. Go there once we're done. All right, on to the next part. Number 5 is my favorite sounding on this list, and it is, forgive me if I don't know how to pronounce it, Gymnopedie by Erik Satie. I always mispronounce the artist's name wrong and the name. This one is a really nice sounding piece. It isn't quite as hard as it looks. It's repetitive, which makes it easier. And it is a little bit longer though. So this one, again, probably once you learn all the other ones on this list, learn this one, and I think number 2 is the other one, towards the end, because these ones are a little bit tougher. If you have trouble with these ones, just pick another one from the list and then just kind of work your way up. And that's about all I have to say about it. It's a great piece, and obviously Carrie's going to splice in me playing it, some of it for you, and then we're going to get on to the next piece, which is Morning by Grieg. Da 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 da. Everybody knows that one, at least probably. It's been in a lot of cartoons, television, media, everything. It's a very well-known piece. It's actually really fun to play, and it's fairly easy. This isn't one of the easier ones on the list. I would say the Bach Prelude in C Major that might have been number 2 actually. That one's the easiest, and then this one's like the second or third easiest. Number 1 on this list was actually pretty easy too, for reference. But yeah, another great choice if you're in between those beginner and intermediate stages. All right, we're gonna get on to the last one, but I have something that I want to ask you first. Which of these pieces are you excited to learn? Like, what are your favorite ones, and which ones are you gonna learn first? I wanna know. Let me know in the comments. I always love the community aspect of YouTube and this channel, and I love to see the students kind of sharing ideas together. So let me know what your favorite piece is, or which one you're going to start with, and then we're going to get on to the last one, which is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. I know you're like, that's easy, right? That's too easy. But this is a special version by Mozart, and this is a theme and variations, where you have the theme that you play, which is like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and then each variation kind of changes that theme. Sometimes it'll go from like major, and then the theme will be major, and then the variation will be minor, or maybe the variation will be like in a different time signature, or it'll flip some of the notes. It's a variation for a reason. Or you can say the original and remixes. That's how I always like to think of a theme and variations, is your original, and then the variations are your remixes. But that one's a great one to learn. These are all very simple especially the main theme. Learn as many of these as you can, or you want to. It's no big deal. Okay, one more thing. Don't go yet. I highly recommend you watch one of these videos next. This one is for intermediate pieces you can learn. Say you've learned a lot of these and you're ready for that next step up. That's where you want to go. And then this other one is just some piano playing tips that you're going to find super duper helpful. Click on either one of those, doesn't matter. It's been your piano teacher Tim here. Thank you so much for coming today. And I'm going to see you, yes you, in the next lesson. Thank you so much and have a good one.